Hi, and it's so nice to see everyone again virtually. You're tuned into the 50th episode of Music and Chat with Shueh-li Ong, and it's a happy new year from me to you in Singapore. I hope you managed to squeeze in some fun and games over the New Year weekend. Did I? Yes, I did. Anyway, you know the routine now. Please say hi in the live chat and let us know where you're tuning in from. And don't be backward and coming forward. And remember to put any questions you may have in the live chat so that I may attend to them as the stream moves along. Music and Chat will be 2 years old in May. Time sure flies. And I'm grateful to all of you for your support, for your subscription to my channel. I shall continue to work diligently for you. Please help me pass the word around. Ideally need to boost the subscription numbers and viewership for each episode. And I know our guest will also be most delighted to see all of you. Thank you. So, say hi in the live chat, please. I want to say Happy New Year to you guys. Don't be shy now. All right, so it's 9:34 a.m. in Singapore. Let's get on with it. And you all know I typically perform live for you each episode. That requires much preparation, technical testing and all that. And the amalgamation of all these signals happen behind the literally it's transparent to all of us, but thanks to the marvels of new technology, we're able to do all this. I'm able to live stream this whole package to you. So I'm gonna play, since it's a new year, I want to start from my first album, which I named Shueh-li Xenovibes. It was released in a live concert in 2004, May of 2004, in fact, though I recorded it and completed it the year before. So this piece is VERITY. VERITY is truly, a veritable feast of yummies. VERITY, and I think truly this will be a good year for us all, and a hopeful year for us also. VERITY from my first album, Shueh-li Xenovibes. And let me turn on. Oh, I'm not going to turn on another cam. I'm going to use this cam conveniently. And I have my tin whistle with me. I'm going to play some tin whistle as well. So here we go. So that was VERITY, y'all, from my first album, Shueh-li Xenovibes. Of course, when I play it live, I take the liberty of kind of improving a bit so that I enjoy it as much as I hope you are. So anyway, let's get on with the program. Our guest is waiting in the wings. Lee Stringer, our good friend, is back for the third time. He's been our guest for on 2 occasions so far. And Lee Stringer happened to attend and also present, yes, at the recent London Film and Comic Con. About a month ago, it was mid to late November last year. And he has brought back some interesting stories guaranteed to tickle your sci-fi fancy. So let's bring Lee in. He should be there already. Hi, Lee. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, back in Singapore. I'm not far from you for a change. So,
I know, and we said we should catch up before I make travel plans. I've made travel plans, but we should catch up.
Yeah. I won't be traveling for a few more months at the moment. I think just let things settle down again and try again. Same as you.
There we go. So Lee, the recent London Film and Comic Con is a twice yearly event. This is for those watching who may not be aware, and it usually takes place at the Olympia Exhibition Centre in London, UK, of course. It's a 3-day event with celebrity guests, stage panels, retail exhibitions, meet and greets, photo ops, you name it, merchandise, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to get straight to pictures. You provided us with an aerial view of the floor of the convention.
Yeah, and that was actually maybe about an hour after it opened. So it did it was actually busier, I think, after that. And this one was their first show in, I think, like 2 years because of COVID and all the rest. So, and also the Olympia Exhibition Center is actually currently under construction. So about 2/3 of the actual place is not available. It is actually not, it's a building site right now. And so it's a lot smaller than it has been in the past. So I think this is only the second time I've been to this particular event. I've done. I mean, it's very similar to Comic Cons that take place all over the world, even in Singapore. And I've been to a few in Europe and in the US before, but ironically, even though I'm from the UK, I've actually never done a show or a talk in the UK before. I've done them, I've done them in multiple different places, but I just never been in the UK when something was going on. And there was actually 2 events that I went to. I was actually at one the week before, which was a Star Trek event called Destination Star Trek. And then I was there for this one as well. So it just happened that I was in the UK for other reasons, and a friend of mine runs this show that I've known for many, many years. And he was like, you've worked on sci-fi projects. Why don't you come along and do a talk? So, I'm like, the behind the scenes, person that most people, it's weird. Most people want to see the actors and want to see the people that are there. And it is weird also because even if it's an actor that's like in a mask or wearing a helmet or, stands behind a sheet or whatever, everybody like wants to talk to them. But if it's somebody who stands behind the camera, there's that. But the good thing is that the people that are interested and who do, they're very, very appreciative and very interested with people who are from behind the scenes, because those, we don't show up very often. We don't come to these sort of events very often. So the people that were asking the questions, I mean, on the first weekend, I actually almost lost my voice because I was literally talking for 6-8 hours a day for 3 days. And, because I talk a lot and people ask me questions and we diverge from whatever it is they asked about, just into often general chit chat and whatever. And so no, it is good to get some sort of direct feedback, as it were, from people.
Yeah, I've dedicated music and chat in many ways to the people who work behind the scenes, because without us, the magic is not present. I should put this in a more articulate way, right? Without us, the performance doesn't take place.
Yeah, especially with music. When my son is in live music, actually in the US, he's a behind the scenes. He does. I can never get whether he seems to flip flop between sound and light. So sometimes he's running the soundboard, sometimes he's running the light.
It's not a bad idea actually to be able to flip flop.
Yeah,
because
so
one of our last episodes we talked to three what they call professional crew people who jump on touring acts for either doing instrument tech or production, light, stage management, sound, you name it. They can flip flop and they become very valuable people in this day and age. And it's always been, but we just never realized it, I guess. But particularly in this day and age, to be able to dip your hands in many pots and still get the painting done on time and with the same quality is pretty valuable.
Well, and I'm also guessing that unless you're like a huge band, with five tractor trailers and 3 crew buses or whatever, you're not going to have a massive crew on a lot of even mid-sized bands don't have a particularly huge crew, so you need to be able to jump on.
And now
it is nice to, as I say, it is nice to meet people and get to they actually seem to like it because they can ask me questions that they wouldn't necessarily ask one of the actors.
Yes, that's true. So we did find, when I say we, I mean me, and particularly our ambassador for music and chat, Gary Mayulo. We tried to find the schedule and he discovered it. So I did do a screen grab of the Sunday schedule and the Saturday schedule. As I mentioned, there are presentation and talks on the stage. So you see the stage column. The photo ops, this for our viewers, you see photo A, photo B, and then the green screen. So you can go to one of these green screens, and I guess you can take a picture of yourself.
Change the background and put you on the bridge of the Enterprise, or all sorts. But I'm actually talking with them because I work in visual stuff. I've actually been talking with them since the show about what can be done for things like the green screen stage, and maybe bringing that alive, maybe doing little videos or having video playing behind them so that people can have little TikTok, what was the video streaming thing that kind of became huge and then disappeared? We had like a little 5-second video clip that you'd upload or something. But people like those little sound bites, little video bites.
I hear you. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't recall what it was, but TikTok seems to be the
big thing
platform,
right now. Yeah,
around the world.
But it's kind of like like Twitter. It's like little short messages, little short bursts, and so people like little short videos. And so we've been like thinking, well, with the green screen backdrop, you can put anything you want there. So why not put video there and do little 5-second, 10-second? And the great thing now is that it's easy to just email that to the customer or to the person or whatever it is, after the show. But the one of the big things at this event, not for me, but as far as but for the attendees, are the photo ops and the autographs. That's where the main celebrity people who show up, they make some serious cash. Kind of, and I talk about serious cash. I'm talking some of them make serious. I probably shouldn't say anything because probably the tax man probably is looking and going, we should look into those. But I know that they have to be very careful with that, and they do keep an eye on that actually. But no, I mean they bring people in from all over the world, some decent names, and they bring in some big names, and they get to meet people, and the photographs are quite an interesting experience because I wasn't one of the ones that people were taking pictures of because nobody wanted to take a picture of me. But I actually went and actually had my photo taken with a couple of the people that were there, just because I was like, I never do this. I've never take pictures, or very, very rarely. You know, if you're on set or at an event or whatever, you often aren't taking pictures with other people. I'm really bad at that. And but there was a couple of people at this event that I've sort of grown up with, you know, I've like known these actors or whatever all my life, and I'm kind of like, and the organizer of the show, Jason, you know, he was like, you know, get some photos with some of the people. I'm like, yeah, I don't really do that, and they're going, you know, well, it's gonna, you know, don't worry about it, you know, just get a photo. So I did a couple, and it was kind of, you know, because the thing is, you know, I guess, you know, nowadays taking photos and selfies is kind of like cliche and everybody does it and all the rest, but there is that whole kind of memory time. You know, the original whole point of a photo is to save a moment of time and to save a memory, as it were. And so I kind of looked at it like that. I was like, you know what, you know, especially because, you know, some of them are getting up in the years. I'm getting up in the years, and they were, you know, I'm watching these people since I was a kid, so they're 20, 30 years ahead of me. And they're not going to be, you know, around for a while. And I've worked with people, you know, that have now passed and things like that. And I'm going, man, I don't have any pictures with them at all. So, so it was kind of fun to you know, to take a quick photo with somebody. But the organizer of the show, you know, they have the photo taking is like an art form. It's quite interesting. I've been to many Comic Cons. I've never seen it quite as well organized as this one. And I'm not saying it's like a machine, because it's not really a machine, but it's like a well-oiled session, you know, where you come in, you sit down, you take the photo, you go off, you get your printout, your photo almost immediately. It's like, wow. By the time the next person has had their photograph taken, your photo is in your hand.
Oh, wow.
It's like they've got like a whole bank of printers, and they're all being fed by like some master computer that's linked into the camera, and so they take the picture, they check the picture, they hit the print button, and it's out.
I see what you mean. That's a great money spinner.
It is. Well, the thing is, you know, because I often wonder, like, well, how do you afford some of these people? You know, because, and when I say serious, I mean, you know, I'm talking some people, you know. Let's put it this way, you know, a weekend appearance at some of these shows, a lot of people could go and buy a nice car. Let's put it that way. That, you know, and I mean a nice car, like, you know, and some people have a very nice car. So, you know, so it's you know, for a weekend, you know, work, as it were, it's some real money. So I was actually interested, like, you know, how do they afford this? How do you ever? And they go, well, we have to, you know, the only way we can afford it is we charge for the autographs, we charge for the photos. And they're pretty expensive, but, you know, people do complain about the prices that some of these big names charge. But it's like, well, it's either that or not. You know, there's not a lot of option. But doing the photos, you know, I don't even know what they charge, to be honest. It's not cheap, you know, it could be $20, $30, $50.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. I saw.
Yeah,
this is in pounds. This would be in pounds, right? Yeah.
In pounds as well, right? You know, but you know, but if you're doing, you know, 50 pounds every 10 seconds or 15 seconds or whatever, it adds up really fast. Quick.
Yeah. So speaking of the people that you managed to take photos with, I do have one that you sent me.
Okay.
1 second.
I don't think I can see I don't see the live stream, so I don't know what you're showing up on screen. But don't worry, you just tell me.
Yes, so it's the one with Brian Blessed. For those of you who are not familiar with Brian, he's more known as a voice actor, or at least his voice, because he was. I've got a picture of Boss Nass. He is, of course, the Gungan leader in the Star Wars movies. He first appeared in The Phantom Menace, and later on in Revenge of the Sith, attending Padme Amidala's funeral, as far as I know.
From the Star Wars, yeah. I mean, but for me, he was known, you know, all sorts of things. And as you say, it's his voice. He's got this very booming voice, and he's still got it, even though I don't even know how old he must be 90 or something by now. You know, he's definitely up there. But Most
Yeah.
famously, he's known for being in the 1970s Flash Gordon film that Queen did the soundtrack for,
Oh,
and
that one.
that's actually one of his
Wow.
most famous. Yeah, he was the king of the Hawkman, and he's got
Wow.
these huge wings that are like flapping behind him, and he's bare
Yeah.
chested, and he's got a big rifle, and he's got a huge beard, and
Wow.
he's the king of the Hawkman, and he's got some very famous lines from the Flash Gordon, the late '70s Flash Gordon, or was it
Oh,
early '80s? I've forgotten now. Actually, no, it was
I
probably early '80s. Yeah.
I just vaguely remember watching some of it. I do remember the song, of course.
Yes.
I need to look it up again. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah. Have a look up the as I said, I think maybe it was 1980. It was right in that, But yeah, Flash Gordon. It's quite
Yeah.
cheesy, but it's got quite a cult following these days,
Yeah.
and it's a good fun film because it just doesn't take itself seriously, and it's got
Yeah.
some wild, crazy production design with colors that are just all over the map. It's all
You know
uh,
what? I really have
yeah,
a penchant for the 70s and 80s TV dramas. You know, some bordering on so-called sci-fi, but there
yeah,
was only so much they could do then with the technology. But
yeah, yeah,
even
yeah,
even
yeah,
Hawaii Five-O, Mission Impossible,
yep,
whatchamacallit, Bionic Man, no, $6 Million
yep, yep.
Man, Bionic Woman, um,
Oh yeah, no, there was a lot of
ISIS,
stuff in that era. That's all what I grew up
ISIS,
with, and
Wonder
so
Woman, yeah,
that was kind of why I was like, oh well, if I'm going to get a picture with somebody, I'll get a picture with Brian, just because, as I say,
yeah,
I grew up with this guy, watching him on
yeah,
TV when I was a kid, and I'm like, well,
yeah,
maybe who knows if I'll ever meet him again, but yeah, so
yeah.
I can be a fan as well,
Yeah.
so.
It's
And
it's
the reality is that's why I'm actually in this industry, because I
yeah.
am a fan of film and television, and I get to be a part of it now.
Yeah. Speaking of being a part of it, you were part of the team that won the 2003 Emmy Award, Primetime Emmy Award for
Yes,
Firefly.
Firefly. Yes.
Strangely enough, or it shouldn't be that strange, but I did find on your website a picture of the team
Oh no,
holding
of me, a very young me.
their awards.
Yes, yes. There's
For our viewers. That should be coming up in a second.
a beardless, chubby version of me. So yes,
You haven't changed much. Maybe the hair's a little lighter,
it's a
and
little lighter. Yeah, it's
and you're
it's
spotting some facial hair, but
yes, yes. I think
I
my
don't
I think my hairline has moved back a little
has
bit.
has receded. That's so funny. But for those of you who are uncertain of Firefly, the TV drama, it's known as an American Western space drama.
Yep, yep,
But
yep.
it's set in a futuristic, I would
It's a
say, environment.
futuristic western, basically.
Yeah,
It's the idea is that it's like the frontier. It's like the Wild West.
there you go.
Back in the 1800s in the US or in Australia, where people were kind of going out into the unknown. This is essentially taking that same premise, but putting it 500 years in the future, and people are going out into the stars and to new planets, and they're having to, forge a new life. And it's essentially the idea is that although it's 500 years in the future and there's still technology, it's still the same sort of problems,
Yeah.
same issues, because there's limited resources and whatever. So it's an interesting show because I actually started on it almost exactly 20 years ago. It was January or February. I think it was January of 2002 when I started on it. And it's weird. I was talking about this at the show about how it's coming up on 20 years, which is kind of crazy because it only lasted for half the season. It was actually cancelled quite quickly, but it's had a very strange ongoing fan appreciation and keeping it going. So, for example, actually, I don't know if it was in the pictures I sent you, but there was actually two people who were there in Firefly, costumes, cosplaying as characters from the show, and they were at the Comic Con in London, and they were, although they were now living in London, they were actually from Russia. So they were
Oh,
actually, and they weren't even from Russia. They were from Siberia, Russian
wow.
Siberia, like up in the north in the cold. And they were
Oh,
20-year fans of this show, and
wow.
they had made their own costumes and made their own props, and they were there. As I say, I thought I took a picture of it. I'll see if I can find it. But
Yeah. Yes,
I
please.
can't remember if I sent it to you or not.
While you're looking for those pictures, I will flash on the screen 3 pics that I picked from your website of some of your work you did on the project. So here is the plans for Firefly. I'm not quite sure if you worked on it, but it was on your website, so I'm assuming that you did.
If it's on my website, it means I had something. I don't put stuff on there that I haven't actually had my fingers on at some point.
That's what I'm hoping.
Usually. Yeah.
So here's the plans for the Firefly. I got a picture of another spaceship. I don't know what it is, of course. Unfortunately, sorry, I don't know. But then there's one of a scene in the series. So that's for our viewers who are curious.
I apologize. I can't. I should have put my phone on with the live feed so I can see what you're showing people, but
That's right.
I can't.
Do you have your phone with you? No.
I don't, and I'm sort of taped into my chair right now because I got my headphone plugged in
no
down.
Worries. No worries.
So if I
worries.
tried to do it, it would be But no, it was. I mean, and I did a talk about Firefly on the Sunday at the Comic Con, and you know, as I say, it's 20 years later. It's been 20 years since we started on it, but there's still a huge fan interest in the show, and it's partly because it was cut short. You know, partly because it never had the potential. Oh, sorry, it had the potential, but never had the the ability to sort of expand on its universe. And you know, you can still buy merchandise. There's still merchandise being produced. There's comics and books being produced. There's toys and models and T-shirts and whatever still being produced. So yeah, no, it's quite an interesting thing to be involved with. Okay, there's the photo I sent you, the second one I sent you, with me in a green shirt with 2 people either side of me. The guy is very Russian looking, so it's.
Where did you send it?
To your Facebook. Hold on, I will.
Oh, did you want to try sharing it?
Yeah.
Share screen like we did earlier when we were testing. We can try that.
Sure.
See if it works after all.
Hold on, let me just do this. Let's see if it works. This is a new one. We were trying this the other day, but it's the first time I've done it live, as it were.
That's live streaming, folks.
It's really live. We're making it up as we go along. Where's it gone? Okay. It's so live, I can't even find the picture. There it is.
It always happens, right? When you're actually on the spot, you start to lose your memory a bit.
Okay, there we go. And let's see if that works.
Yay.
Did you get that image?
Yes, let me just make sure I got it cropped appropriately. So this should be, let's say, a square. Yes, I'll make it square so we can see everyone's heads.
Yeah.
There you go. So so those are the 2.
Yes. So the guy he's playing as the main captain called Malcolm. It's played by Nathan Fillion in the show, and then his wife. Is made up as Jane, who's his kind of Jane is it's a female name, but it's a male. He's the muscle in the show. So
I'm gonna bring up the Firefly poster again so that we can kind of do some matching up here. 1 second. There you go. Let's see if we can spot. Yes, I think we can spot them. So, all right, that's cool.
So those and every time I've gone to a convention, there's always at least one person as one of the Firefly cast. And quite often there's more. In fact, these weren't the only two that were there as the Firefly cast. So, no, it's as I say, it's 20 years, and it only ran for half a season, and they had one movie which they did afterwards. But it's just it's got a very loyal fan base, and you know they're very. I'm not going to say fanatical, but because they're not, they just liked the whole premise of the show, and I think they liked. I think one of the things that's kept it alive is the fact that it was only on for half a season, and it sort of has that cut short kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of 70s and 80s TV dramas, I mentioned Bionic Woman. And of course, I was a fan of, or maybe I should say, I was a fan. Kind of conjures up, other descriptions of the person's.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and Lindsay Wagner, who
dislikes.
played her, was very good, and she's actually done. I haven't met her in person. I have met some of the people involved in $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman. And
I guess what I was trying to say before you continue, because I would like you to, what I was trying to say is they didn't actually run it for a long time, but somehow with the replays happening, it gives you the impression that they did many seasons is what I was trying to get at, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think they only add 2 seasons, 3 seasons, something like that of Bionic Woman. It was very short.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how some of the shows that weren't long-lasting are the ones that people remember sometimes better. I mean, $6 Million Man. I mean, I may have only ran for 4 seasons. I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons, maybe more. But it seemed like it ran for my entire childhood. You know?
Thanks to reruns, I think. For me, I think it was the rerun. So there's more. You keep on thinking there's more, but there isn't actually.
Well, the most famous one, and actually, ironically, he's in Singapore this weekend.
Oh.
It's not a sci-fi show, but it's a Monty Python's John Cleese.
That's right. I heard.
He's in Singapore this weekend. So he did a show in the late 70s as well called Fawlty Towers, which was about him playing a hotel manager, a manic hotel manager. And it's the thing that always I quote to people, and it throws them off as well, is that they only made 12 episodes of that show. There was 2 seasons of 6 episodes each. So there was only ever 12 episodes. And when you tell people that, they go, no, there was like 30 or 40 episodes of that. I watched that all the time, over and over. I watched it. And I'm like, no, there was only 12 episodes. And they're just so good that you can watch them over and over, and they almost seem like different episodes. But there was only ever 12 episodes of that. And yet now, 40 plus years later, it's still popular. It's still known. It's still, people are still watching it. And as I say, so sometimes, not having so many episodes is a good thing.
Yeah, speaking of, I'm also, I can't think of another word except maybe I'm fond of Sherlock.
Yes.
With Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman, and Amanda Abington, who was also at the...
At the show, yes.
At the show. I've got a picture of her with 2 other actors, and they only ran for 7 episodes.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of different sort of seasons, but it wasn't, and they were, I think, longer episodes.
They were like more like
an
hour and a half or so. But as a whole, there were only 7 shows per se.
Right.
But yet it felt like we had a lot of them, and we still wanted more.
Yeah, and they do still want more, and they do keep talking about potentially bringing it back and doing more. So one of the things that's so interesting about that is that the people who ran the Comic Con, they also have just opened a film and sci-fi museum in the UK, in Milton Keynes. If you look up the National Film and Science Fiction Museum, in the UK. So the organizers of the Comic Con also have just opened this museum, and one of their exhibits is to do with Sherlock. They have a lot of props and costumes and things like that from Sherlock, because they're actually they actually ran some Sherlock conventions, that were just for Sherlock, and
nice.
they were hugely successful. So, and this was even before Benedict became really big with the Marvel films, So yeah, no. Sure, I know exactly what you mean. Stephen Moffitt, who's one of the main, he has worked with the organizers of the Comic Con, and he was also known for Doctor Who. He did a lot of the Doctor Who stuff.
Exactly.
And there was another show that they did, I think it was last year or the year before, that was only ran for a season, but again, it was quite good. It was a kind of a new take on Dracula. It was the same,
I'm not aware of that one.
same group.
Huh. But
Yes.
speaking of
It's an interesting,
Doctor Who, we also had Jenna Coleman, who was the companion to the 11th and 12th Doctors, Matt Smith, played by Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi, also at the show for photo op. I think let me just bring up the Sunday schedule again. Yes, they are there on Photo Stage B.
Yeah, there's a lot of Doctor Who guests, obviously, are at the shows in London because they're filmed there, or they're filmed in Wales a lot now. The new ones are filmed in Wales, but obviously a lot of the actors are based in London. So, you do see, as I say, there's a lot of. And Doctor Who's been running for, over 50 years.
Speaking of something that had a longer lifespan,
that's had a much longer. And,
I think my introduction to Doctor Who was Tom Baker.
Yep. That's a lot of people, actually, of our generation, as it were introduced by Tom Baker. And, he's still around, and he's done these conventions as well, and done signings and photos and stuff. I've never met him personally, but many of the others I have. Would be good to work with some of them one day, but you never know what's next. But but no, at the London shows, as I say, this was the first time I'd done a London show, and there was a lot of people you're going to go, well, that's so and so, that's so and so, and you're sitting next to people that you're kind of on the Sunday, I was sitting next to, and now I've completely forgotten her name. But I kind of, again, she was one of the people that was on TV, when I was, Sandra Dickinson. Her name took a while to come up, but she'd be on TV when I was a kid all the time, and here she is, right there chatting with people and very friendly and everything else. So
do you get kind of awestruck?
No, I try not to be, because I am a professional. Remember.
I know, right?
You try not to be. I mean, sometimes it's more surprise in a way. Sometimes it's like, because it's like when I lived in Los Angeles or whatever. I mean, you'd see somebody at Starbucks standing in line in front of you or whatever, and you're like, that's so and so or whatever, But they're just normal people like anybody else, really. When it all boils down to it, I mean, they don't levitate off the ground and float around or something, But the other weird thing is that I'm actually I tell people I'm the worst celebrity spotter in the world. I'm completely useless. I've had lunches with a group of people and been sitting opposite famous person, having lunch conversation with them, just having a normal conversation. And then about halfway through, I'm going, oh, that's so-and-so. I didn't realize that was, and I don't want to drop any, names, but, names that people, I'm because they weren't dressed up. They weren't, they hadn't shaved that morning. They were just, it was just a group. It was a group of people. I knew, like half of the group. I didn't know the other half of the group. They knew the other half of the group, whatever, So we're just chit-chatting. But the reality was that actually made the lunch a lot more interesting, because I wasn't intimidated, and we weren't really talking about work. And I've done that more than once. That's happened. I've had, I've been at an event and I'm talking with somebody and we're just chit-chatting or whatever, and then I suddenly realized, oh, that's so-and-so.
Yeah, it's kind of like the scene in Nashville. You know, the musicians just mingle with everybody else because the city is so used to them living there and working there. They
Right,
walk in, they buy their coffee, and they sit down,
right,
and no one bothers them because, oh, yeah, that's so and so. We've seen them many times before. Yeah. Leave them
exactly.
in peace.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's the again, it's kind of back to like having a photo taken with somebody or having a selfie with somebody. I mean, I know a lot of people obviously will run up to somebody and say, hey, can I take a photo with you or whatever, and I just won't do that. I might want to maybe, but I won't.
So, speaking of people you might have worked with or acquainted with, I noticed on Saturday uh, on the show we had two of, I wouldn't say my favorite actresses, but they're in projects that I enjoy or I'm fond of, and I've got pictures of them, of course. So, the first one I mentioned to you is the Ming-Na one.
Oh, right,
She
yes,
had,
yes,
yeah, her breakout role, for those of you who may be familiar with her, was in the Joy Luck Club and then Street Fighter, which was a revisioning of the arcade game. This was
yep,
released in '94, so that was plenty of decades ago. You'll
yes.
see her, she's in the role of Chun-Li. And then, of course, most of us know her as Melinda May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And finally,
Yep.
she appeared briefly in
Now
The
she's in.
Mandalorian, but now in
Yep.
the Book of
Now
Boba
she's in
Fett.
the book of Boba Fett, and yeah, no, so yeah, she was there, and it's funny actually. Again, I didn't have a photo with her, but she was actually one of the few people that I went up to and had a chat with in the green room one lunchtime, just because I wanted to kind of say hi, and also because she has a slight local connection. She's not a Singapore connection, but I think it's either her mother or her father. I can't remember which is Malaysian.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I'm. I don't try. I like to know where people are from because I meet people from everywhere, and
Yeah.
like to know what their background is and stuff like that. Because I get asked that all the time. I'm always asked,
I
where are
know
you
she's
from?
from, the family hails from Macau, but I didn't
Yes.
know that they had a
Yeah, it's either her
Malaysian
mother or her
connection.
father was born in Malaysia because
Oh,
when I've done a couple of shows in Malaysia, and there's certain the people who kind of make the breakout, as it were, into the big time from
yeah.
Malaysia or whatever everybody talks about, or either knows or has worked with or whatever,
Oh.
and obviously the Michelle is the big
Oh,
Malaysian
are you
star.
talking about? Oh, yes. You're talking about Michelle now?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
but I've heard Ming's name brought up before
All
as
right.
having a Malaysian connection, and I wasn't
Got
sure
it.
where that connection was.
Oh.
So anyway, I went over and asked her and she said, oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah, my distant family is my parents' family is from Malaysia originally. So I was trying to find some,
Oh.
because there's that whole thing of like, how do you kind of like break the ice when you want
Yeah.
to talk to somebody or whatever. So I was like trying to think of like, and then I'm going, wait, I'm sure there's a Malaysian connection. Okay, that's close enough
Yeah.
to Singapore. That'll break the ice. So, and it did. It was fine, And she was very, very nice, very friendly, and a lot of people were talking about her over the weekend. A lot of people were excited to see her there. I'm not sure if it's the first time she's been to a London show, but I think it might be. So yeah, but she was definitely one of the big names for the weekend.
Yeah, she's definitely had a long and illustrious career,
Yeah, and it's only
and
sort
still
of
holding
grown.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So I think,
That,
and the most common, uh, the statement that I heard so often was, I can't believe she's almost 60. Um, because if you're in England, you get to 60 and you're kind of okay, that's it. You shuffle you off to off to an old people's home and give you a cup of tea. Whereas she's doing more stuff now than she ever has, and
yeah.
it's like,
Ac-
that's
action
great.
projects. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
She
actually,
and Michelle
exactly.
Yeoh, speaking of Michelle, they're both still into oh, we want you to do a fighting scene. Sure, we'll do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And um, It's great. I mean, obviously, you know, why not? You don't have to shuffle off to a home and have a cup of tea. You can keep busy
No,
and keep going, and that's much more interesting. Yeah.
absolutely. And the other
So,
person who also appeared on the Saturday calendar on stage was Marina Sirtis. From
yes.
those of you who are aware of her, of course, she was Counselor Troy in Star Trek: The Next Generation, and then following up in Picard as well. You know, at
Yeah.
a couple of decades later in the
In the
universe of
timeline,
things.
yes.
Yeah. So I've got a
Yeah.
couple of pictures up right now, and you did mention to me when we last spoke that you were acquainted with her somehow. You.
Yeah, well, I've not worked with her on a production before, but we had worked on some conventions back in the 90s. We were
Oh.
at the same place, and so I had worked with her quite a few times. I hadn't seen her in a very long time, and so I kind of basically, you know, went up and said hi again, and mainly because last summer I was working in Indonesia,
Oh
and one of
yeah.
the producers on the show is actually a personal friend of hers from her like teenage years,
Oh
and
wow.
they're still friends together. So the producer, we were just talking about stuff and projects we've worked on and whatever, you know,
Oh.
uh, you know, I'd said that I'd worked on Star Trek, and she said, "Well, you know, had you worked on Next Generation?" And I was like, "No, I was on some of the later shows." And so anyway, so she was saying that, you know, she did know Marina for years. So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll if I run into her again, I'll say hi." So anyway, I was in London, and I went up and said, "Hey," and she's like, and the funny thing was, I went up to her and I said, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi. I was working with a friend of yours, you know, over the summer." And she's like, "Oh, you're Lee." And I was like, "Uh-oh." So she'd already warned her. She was like, "Yeah, you know, Lee's going to come up and say hi." And so anyway, yeah, it was again, it's one of those things you want of some sort of an icebreaker. I normally won't go in and say hi to somebody unless you know, I don't want to be that fanboy who's fumbling for words, you
Of
know.
course.
So no, that was good, and we ended up catching up, and we have a lot of the same people that we know, and as I say, we have worked together, but it's been 20 years, you know, so it's been a while. But you know, the good thing with it, and I'm sure you have the same thing, is that you know, that happens a lot, that you don't work with somebody for a long time and then you hook up again, and then it doesn't seem like it. You just sort of forget that 20 years and just carry on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So
yeah,
what
but
did you
she's
do?
a fan favorite. She's definitely a fan favorite. So.
I can imagine. And the fact that you remembered your name.
Right.
She could have said, "You're not the one my friend told me about, you know,
Right.
many
No,
moons
no, no,
ago."
no.
She
Yeah.
actually remembered who
Yeah,
you.
no. She yes. I think she must have sent her a message and said, "Hey, you know, the guy I worked
Oh,
with in Indonesia is going to come up and say hi." And
oh, I
she
see.
yeah. So I think once she connected the dots, it was all good. But no, she's actually just moved back to London. So she lived in Los Angeles for, well, probably since the mid '80s.
Yeah,
And then she just moved back to London last summer. So
yeah. So I
she's
read.
now back
So
there.
yeah,
Yes.
I read somewhere that she's showing up in a lot of conventions because in London because she's back there.
She's now moved
Yeah.
back there, yeah. So she'll be, and you know, I guess she's effectively retired at the moment. Although no actors really retire. I don't. It's like, you know, all of us.
No,
You know, if work comes along, you'll take it or whatever. Yeah, you
absolutely.
know.
So
But I mean, at the Star Trek convention the week before, she had a good line of people, you know, waiting to get her autograph and say hi and whatever.
there you
So
go.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been 35 years since Next Generation came on the air, and it's still very, very
Yeah.
popular. Yeah.
She definitely made an indelible mark on people's appreciation of her role, her place in the crew,
Yeah, it was
Next
an unusual
Generation.
role because who puts a counselor on a TV show, as it were? It makes them a central
Exactly.
character as well,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So it was
Absolutely.
definitely a sign of changing times, as it were. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, did you discover any new and exciting technology or productions in the works?
While I was in London,
Yeah.
or yes and no. I mean, the big thing, obviously, right now in my field are what we call the virtual production. which is using these LED walls, and that's definitely a big thing that is happening in London. I was actually meant to go over to one of the stages that has one, but I ended up cutting my trip short and had to come back. So, but it's being used a lot on The Mandalorian, but it's being used a lot on all the shows right now. There's quite a lot of shows, and they're popping up. So, yeah, it's basically like here I've just got a piece of black cloth behind me, and as I say, a lot of times we just use green screen. But the idea now is that these large LED walls that you see for concerts and you see for advertising and things like that, they've now got to the resolution and the quality that they can actually be put behind actors and used to have a live background. And that's definitely the one thing. And it's kind of been accelerated because of COVID and the inability to be able to travel. Because obviously, if I wanted to film somebody in Singapore, in New York, without having to go to New York, we could either get footage from New York or we could create a digital New York and put it behind people. And it's actually the digital backdrops that are the big thing, because by having a three-dimensional version of New York or a New York street, you can move the camera around, which normally with the green screen, you're a bit limited. You're kind of limited to what goes behind and how you sync up. One of the big problems with doing green screen is syncing up what's happening in the foreground and what's happening in the background, and whether that's the lighting, whether it's the camera movement, the physical stuff. So, there's a lot of times when you film somebody on green screen and they just look pasted on top. And it's surprisingly difficult sometimes to get those two to match up. Whereas with the wall, the main thing that's happening with the wall is that the light from that wall is being projected onto you as well, even if it's just very subtly around the edge. So that the light from whatever's behind you is being projected onto your shoulder or onto the side of your face or onto your hair, more importantly, especially if you've got somebody who's got bigger hair than I do, like yours. The light is going to come through the hair, and that actually helps to integrate you into the scene a lot better than having a green screen behind. Because
that's a good point.
Green screen with hair, if I got my hair here and did that, that's just a nightmare for green screen, because you've just got all these strands and whatever. Whereas if there's an LED screen behind you, it doesn't make any difference. And if you want to have a wind machine going and having your hair blowing all over the place or whatever, again, with an LED screen behind you, it doesn't make any difference. So yeah, that's one of the main things that's happening right now, is this LED virtual production. And because the image that's on the screen is being generated live on the set, it's not actually a piece of footage from New York. It's a live computer-generated image. If you move the camera around, the background can change based on where the camera's going. And that's something that hasn't been able to be done before. So
so you're saying what the screens are displaying respond to the camera angle?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
That's
so it's
the
not
main,
so it's not a static angle then,
no,
so
and
to
that's
speak.
the big change. That's the big,
I
before. I mean, we've had rear screen projection before. We've had, when you see somebody driving a car, and the background behind is moving, and it never, sometimes it looks okay,
tell.
sometimes it doesn't, most of the time it looks pretty obvious, because whatever's happening here is not the same as what if they go boom, it doesn't match the background or the lighting going past them doesn't match. Whereas now, because that image can be created live and it is moving, so yes, if the camera does bounce up and down,
I see.
it's not just that the image is moving, but the actual angle of the image is moving slightly. So the perspective on that
and the
road,
tilt.
the tilt is adjusting. And the interesting thing with human eyes and the brain that is connected to that what you're seeing. There's so much going on that you don't even think about because you see it every day. You're constantly, you're always looking around, you're always seeing stuff. And the thing is, you take things for granted. You just don't, you don't even notice thousands of things every day. So if the background doesn't move quite right, you'll go, hey, that doesn't look right, and you'll focus on it. Now, it's in the last, I'd say in the last 10 years, but definitely in the last 5 years, things have moved forward very rapidly. And the new headset, the one that we just bought, it's quite amazing because it's all included. It's all self-contained. I mean, the last time I was playing around with VR was a few years ago, and you still needed to set up cameras and tracking markers, and you had cables, and you needed a really high-end computer, that had to have a really powerful graphics card in order to be able to do it, and all this sort of stuff, And now it's all just built into the headset. There's no cables at all. It's completely wireless. So it's definitely making leaps and bounds. Which then brings up the thoughts. Now it's at the point where it's like, well, how can we incorporate this into production? And one of the things that we have talked about previously is about producing stuff in VR. So if we're doing like pre-visualization, like we were just talking about with the virtual, with the backdrop. Well, if we're creating a digital New York, now we can technically put on the VR goggles and actually build the New York in the virtual space. So if we wanted to move, and this is all part of the virtual production system, actually, is that you can have a VR goggles on because you're creating the full environment. It's not just what's behind the camera. You're creating everything. So if you wanted to have one person as the cameraman and one person as the actor, you can have somebody else with a VR goggle on who's actually just there and can kind of be going, all right, well, we're going to move that light over there, or we're going to move that prop over there, or we're going to change the color of the sky. And so they have actually, it is at the point where you can almost have a virtual backlot where you are literally there and looking around and walking around and viewing stuff. And so there is it has reached the point now where that is becoming a reality. We'd even talked, I actually was on a project about 5 years ago when we were talking about doing editing in a virtual environment where you could literally have, and this was also pre-COVID, where we were talking about having like a VR editing room where we have the clients who are in a different country. We may have the editor who's in a different country. We may have us in a different country. We may have the animators in a different country. And we can all kind of come together and be in a room. And again, we're in a digital room that is where are we placing the actors? Where are we placing the cameras? Where are we, and that was about 5 years ago. And the technology wasn't quite there then. We were kind of talking about it, thinking about it. How can we do this? Can we get somebody to put up the money to do it, for the experimenting? And that's always where it kind of comes down to is who's going to put up the money for the research and development. That usually is what restricts a lot of this sort of stuff. For good or for bad, Oculus now is owned by Facebook, or Meta as they call it, or the company that owns Facebook. So they've actually got a lot of money behind it. And so that, in a way, is going to help us. The great thing with the virtual production environment, which is also using the VR, is that has got companies behind it that have, resources available. And the great thing about the virtual production environment is that the company that's developing the software that drives all that is actually giving the software away for free. And in fact, they're giving training for free. Because they're kind of like, look, we're not making money off of this right now. We don't need to, because they're the same company that develops video games or the technology that's used. So they're actually making plenty of money off of video games.
Are you talking about Unreal Engine?
Yeah, Unreal Engine, exactly. Yeah, with Blizzard. And so they've built a very, very successful business model with their Unreal Engine. They're making loads of money coming in from video game producers who are using their engine, but they're intelligent enough that they're looking forward about, well, what can we use our engine for in 5 years or in 10 years? And so they right now are giving away the software, they're giving away the support, they are supporting. So, you know, a lot of these virtual productions have somebody there from Unreal who is, you know, helping them, teaching them. They run free classes, they run free, you know, courses. But if you're a big enough production, they will actually kind of come there, and if you're doing something and something's not working, they'll be like, okay, we'll fix it right now, or hey, we need a new feature. Okay, we'll add that new feature if we feel it's worth it. So there's quite a lot of excitement coming from that side. And you know, it was weird. I remember talking with them about 2 years ago, and I'm like, so what does this all cost? And they go, it's free. And they're like, you know, and they're like, yeah, we know that sounds kind of weird, but we don't know how we're going to make money off of this particular avenue, but we'll figure it out in the next 5 or 10 years. And the weird thing is that, you know, that will happen. They will figure out a way to make their money back from it. And even if they don't, again, they're making so much money off the video games, they don't really care. But it's kind of similar to how it was about 10 years ago with streaming online, with doing, you know, I remember being involved with a couple of productions about 10 years ago that were trying to figure out streaming. The internet was fast enough, the technology was there, but they couldn't figure out how they were going to get any revenue back, you know, and I'm not involved in the producing side usually, you know, the actual money side. I try to stay away from that. But I understand that, you know, it's called show business. There's a show and there's business, and without the business, there's no show. And I fully appreciate that. So I'm like, yeah, somebody somewhere has to pay our bills, you know. And so, you know, 10 years ago with streaming, it's like everybody was like, yeah, we've got the technology, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the internet, we've got the servers, we can stream this to people's houses. But how do we get that? How do we get a, you know, it basically kind of boiled down to was like, well, if everybody who watches this show gave us $1, we can afford to do it. But it's like, how do you get that dollar from that person? It's kind of, I'm sure it's the same with you with music and Spotify and all the rest. It's exactly the same thing. It's like, you know, if you can get a penny for every person who listens to this song, then, you know, and even Spotify doesn't work like that, as I've heard. I don't know much about it, but yeah, but it should. It's exactly how it should work, you know. Yeah, I'm sure it's a sore point. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think?
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, so virtual production and VR is sort of in that same area right now. It's like, but the good thing is that at least has a couple of big companies behind it that are supporting it and are investing in, you know, whatever is the future. I mean, a lot of these big companies are, you know, yeah, they make huge profits and yeah, they're the big evil companies or whatever. But the reality is that they do actually put money into the R&D, which for me is the more important thing. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, yeah, Apple or Google or whatever, you know, have their problems and definitely, and I'm not saying they don't, but they do at least, they're putting their money where into the future and they're trying new stuff. And so, you know, Facebook is putting money into Oculus to drive the VR stuff. Blizzard is putting money into Unreal to create virtual production. So these companies that do have the resources aren't just, a lot of people think they just sit there and, you know, sleep on a big pile of cash, like in, you know, Breaking Bad or whatever. But the reality is, yeah, they do that, but they've got so much cash, they can put some into R&D. And I'm just thankful that they do, because R&D is usually the biggest hindrance for tech advancement. Because the reality is we're past that stage where it's just a couple of guys in a garage, you know, playing around with some stuff. Unfortunately, you know, the tech is too advanced now that it can't just be, you know, a couple of people sitting in a garage, you know, thinking something. So
as a final question to wrap this up, and sorry for the technical issue. I haven't figured out why it's so, because Skype's running fine.
Okay.
I'm just hoping I get a good recording for the archives, which I maybe can edit into the actual live stream footage, but then we would delete live chat and so on and so forth. But I'll have a look after. So here's a final question. Oh, it just slipped my mind. Hold on. Oh yeah, I got it. There's always so much going on, you know, like what do I do, where's everything. So the final question is this, you mentioned how streaming kind of 10 years ago somewhat, and we know this as a fact, along with home entertainment systems and 3D encoding and decoding, so you can kind of experience you can have the cinematic experience at home. So back then, you know, the concern was, would theater or movie theaters still
Right,
have the same uh, uh, patronage, I suppose.
right,
So
right.
we're talking about VR and Oculus and, you know, head-mounted VR displays and things, and being able to experience with headphones and all actually a similar experience to what, if not perhaps more personalized experience than what you would get in a movie theater. Do you think that might be the slow demise of the movie theater, or do you think people still want to get as in a group to go watch a movie together and eat
Right.
popcorn and all that stuff, you know, the good
Yeah.
old days?
I mean, me personally, I mean, I'm sort of right in the middle where I don't necessarily know, because I'm all for all the new tech and all the new gadgets and all the new whatevers. I want to try them out. I want to use them. I want to whatever. But I'm also in the, no, I actually want to just sit there and watch a movie, or so it's kind of the same as going to a live concert versus, or listening to something at home. I mean, the one thing I haven't done yet with the Oculus is that there is actually like a Netflix room, and you can literally sit. There's you sit and watch like this 200-inch screen, way bigger than my TV. I mean, I put
Yeah.
and I went and I did play like 2 minutes of something, and I was like, okay, this is very interesting. And I know that there is a way to stream like movies on there and whatever, and look like you're in a cinema. And a friend of mine was saying that he actually uses it when he flies, when he travels from place to place. He can be sitting on a plane, but he puts his Oculus on because you don't need any additional hardware anymore.
Yeah.
You can literally put it on, and you can even download a movie to it and watch it on a plane as if you're watching a cinema screen. Now, that is something I want to try out. But personally, I still like, I think I'll I don't go to the cinema as much as I used to, but there's what I call event movies that I insist on going to, and I don't think that those are gonna, I've got a projector at home, I got a big screen TV at home, but I still, so for example, late last year, Dune, Denis Villeneuve's Dune came out, and I was like, I'm not going to watch that on a TV, because this is a big, vast, epic kind of movie. And I told everybody, I was like, don't watch this at home on, HBO is great, but don't watch this on HBO, because, and even Denis Villeneuve is like, I don't want people to watch this at home. I want them to watch it in the cinema, because that's what it's for. And that was a wow. You needed that cinema experience, and it wasn't even about having people around. It was just the visual and the sound was, bigger than what most people can have at home. Now, the one thing I haven't done is to actually like watch a whole movie on the Oculus as if I'm in a cinema, and that's something I'm gonna try that out in the next week or two. Because my big thing with that is, can I have that headset on for 2 hours and not have my eyes screaming at me on my head? The actual machine can run for 2 hours now. So on the batteries, so that's not a problem. But it's like, can I look, for 2 hours at this particular screen, and is it going to be comfortable on my head? And for me, that's what it really boils down to. It's more that comfort. I mean, I wasn't even a big fan of 3D movies, when you had to have the big glasses on your head and whatever. Mainly because they gave me a headache. So I'm intrigued, and the good thing with the Oculus is that is stereo. So these 3D movies will actually be even better on that. So anyway, sorry, I'm bambling on and I have a long answer for everything else, but I'm intrigued as to where it will go. I'm still experimenting with it, but I'm glad we're at that stage where we can experiment with it, And I do, I mean, I read the book, Ready Player One. I'm very familiar with like, Tron and all these other movies that I grew up with that talk about, the digital world, as it were, and going inside the computer or whatever. And so I don't know if it'll ever get to that stage, but I can definitely see, putting on a headset and just looking around and suddenly being in a different place. It is intriguing, and it is enticing for a while. I mean, I can put the Oculus on and I can be standing in in another part of the world immediately and sort of looking around. I mean, I just watched a video it wasn't actually like 3D in that, but it was filmed on the space station, on the International Space Station. They just put a camera, and I can look around. I mean, I can't move around because it's a recording, but I can look around and I can sort of imagine what it's like being in the space station just by having this full 360 look around. So there's,
There you go.
The reality is the final answer on all this is the reality is that it's more about the content creators than the technology to then use the technology to make better content. And the thing we have to always not forget is that you don't want that gimmick factor. There is the gimmick factor for a little bit, but that only lasts for a certain amount of time. You've got to use the technology to enhance the storytelling and enhance the experience, because you're only going to, the gadget factor will wear off quite quickly, and then the actual real usability of it comes into play. So that's probably my shortest answer is
Thanks.
it comes back to the content maker.
There'll always be this symbiotic relationship between what the user wants, what the technology can bring, so that new material can be created, and then the user wants again. This kind of life cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's like right behind you, you've got a synthesizer there. Synthesizers, okay, they're not new anymore, but they're still technically new. 50 years ago, synthesizers were very new. But just because you've got a synthesizer doesn't mean you can create music. But it then takes a musician to use a synthesizer to make new music or different music, different sounds. And that's kind of what it really boils down to, is take the technology and then what can you do with the technology is probably the more important question.
There you go, folks. Let's thank Lee for being such a wonderful guest on the live stream, and apologies. I don't know if you can hear the applause, Lee, but apologies for the technology going a little all right.
That's part of it, actually. The weird thing is we've got a lot of this tech, and it's available to us for free. We're using Skype here, and it's totally free. It doesn't cost a penny. I can talk to somebody on the other side of the world, and it doesn't cost me a penny really, other than my internet. And
but I did pay for my software aggregator.
Right. Yes.
Check in with them.
What's happening? Yeah, but the weird thing is, I think we take it for granted a little bit these days that that I can talk to somebody on the other side of the world, and then it doesn't work, and you're going, why doesn't it work? And I'm like, well, you are talking to somebody like 10,000 miles away, not today, but what we could be, and it wouldn't be, yeah.
So thanks, Lee. Thanks again. Okay. I hope you enjoyed yourself like all of us have.
Thank you.
Your generosity,
Okay.
So, I'll catch up with you again soon, and probably on another live stream in the distant future.
Okay, yeah. We'll find something to talk about. There's always something.
Okay. Subscription. If you're watching this post live stream, please subscribe to support me, to support my work, and I promise I'll continue to work diligently for you and bring new guests in. And I know they appreciate when there is a lot of you chiming in with opinions, comments, questions, and so on and so forth. Please spread the word as well to your friends. And if you haven't bought my music yet, it's on my Bandcamp store. I have a link right here if you're interested. If you're looking for holiday gifts, please send a download. Guests for next episode I will announce soon. And if you're subscribed and you have ticked the notification bell, you will be notified the moment I post news of the next episode, along with who will be guesting on our live stream. In the meantime, please take care and stay safe. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bring your friends along. Thank you. Bye, everyone.